viewers, Rectangular back, this time with another review. Here we have Vina, the Orion slave woman from Star Trek the original series, Wave 3. These were made by Asylum, which was later purchased by Diamond Select. So if you own any Diamond Select figures, you're fairly familiar with the construction of these. I don't remember what year they were put out. I'll flip the card over and then we can hopefully see. But this figure is starting to become pretty rare. She typically goes for about $30 and up on eBay. Pretty difficult to find loose or in the package. And let's go ahead and flip the package over and look at the card. Here we've got the back of the package, and you can see the other figures from Wave 3. They also had Kor the Klingon, Gorn, and battle-ravaged Kirk, in addition to Vina, who we're reviewing here. And upon further inspection of the card, it looks like these figures came out in 2004, so about 11 years ago. Don't normally collect Star Trek figures. I was a pretty big Star Trek fan growing up, but I'm just going to use this figure for non-Star Trek setups. I know that some of the other figures in the wave are pretty difficult to find. I think Kirk is the easiest to find, but Kor the Klingon and Vina are about on par in the rare department, and Gorn is by far the most difficult to find out of the four. So yeah, let's go ahead and get her out of the package and get a closer look. The only item the figure comes with is these little coins, plastic coins that Art Asylum would pack with, I think, all of their figures. And you know, depending on what product line you're getting, you're going to have a different insignia on this side. But since we're doing a Star Trek figure, we got the United Federation of Planets. So let's go ahead and check out the figure. Here we have Vina out of the package, and overall she's not a bad figure. Very good, I think, for the era that she comes from and the company and the scale. It's not without its problems for sure, but for similar figures of this era and company, she's not bad. The paint job overall is pretty decent. I think some of the problems with it had to been with me handling it. I had to do quite a bit of handling to try to free up one of the joints, and I'll go into more detail about that in a minute. But the paint on the figure overall is pretty good. There is a definite issue on the back with glue. I wouldn't really call that a paint issue, but it looks like glue or something, some sort of material. I haven't tried to remove it. I'm afraid of scraping off the paint. But very nice sculpt. I think it looks extremely close to the actress who played Vina in the original Star Trek series. I really think Art Asylum did an excellent job on the sculpt and paint of the face on this figure. It's really attractive. The red on her lips painted really well, her eyes, the eyebrows, all just turned out really nice. There's definitely some variety in the shading of green on her, and like I said, I think the areas where it looks faint is just handling the figure. The paint rubs off very easily, so if you get her, you definitely want to handle her as little as possible. But the hair definitely has some shading in it, as you can see there on the back. Really nice shades of brown and probably some black mixed in there. It's very nice soft rubber, so it does not hinder articulation at all. The dress definitely has some areas where it looks like it's green plastic or rubber material with some gold paint on it. Areas that look like could use a little bit more gold, and like I said, it could have been me handling it. You know, you got to remember this is an 11-year-old figure, and paint does fade. I have no idea how the seller stored it, but really nice. It's kind of like a copper color there on her armband. I think that turned out really well. Yeah, and I also ended up cutting or tearing the dress here on the side, and it's been repaired with some super glue. It still moves, which is fortunate, but I definitely don't want to move it a whole lot. And you can see the paint is already transferring or coming off of her rear end there. So the paint definitely flakes off. It's a very fragile figure, I'd say, as far as plastic goes. The pros is that for a Marvel Select style character, or Diamond Select style, she does have pretty darn good articulation. Fortunately, like I said, the soft rubber of her hair does not hinder the articulation, so she can look completely 360. She does have a ball joint there in the head, so she can look pretty far up and not too bad looking down. Surprisingly, she can look up better than she can look down, just slightly. But very nice. You know, gives her a lot of character being able to tilt her head side to side like that, so I like that a lot. The arms or shoulders are on a ball hinge, so they can go up very good amount, which is good because she's a dancer. You want to be able to get her in as much dramatic poses as possible, so I can go a little bit higher probably on that one. And then of course they rotate 360, and the only issue is the paint. You know, you're gonna lose a lot of paint the more we move this figure. It's gonna chip off, scrape off. And she has a upper bicep swivel on both arms. It's very nice. And just a single joint at the elbow, and then on the hinge, she just has a hinge on both wrists. Would have been really nice to have an actual pivot joint in the wrist as well, but that's what you're stuck with. And unfortunately, this sculpt on the hand is pretty far bent back. I forgot to mention they did paint her fingernails, which is nice, and her toenails. Now there is no articulation at the abdomen anywhere in the torso, which is not a big deal because the dress, if you had a joint there, if you had a swivel there at the waist and you rotate it, you're probably going to tear the rubber in the dress. So that to me is not a big deal. I just kind of wish that you could manipulate the hands a little bit better, and definitely the legs is the Achilles heel, no pun intended, of this figure. So you know, you can rotate there 360 on that ball hinge, but I have a very hard time moving it in and out. And another major issue is the thigh cut is so high up that you have very little plastic to support when you want to move that hinge. You know, there's a lot of stress that you're putting on the peg that this leg is attached to. So you want to make sure that you're moving it deliberately and as high up on the thigh as possible. You know, when this thing is always afraid of breaking this thing. So you can move it. It's just on mine at least there was a lot of dread seeing how it's separating there. So definitely be careful. I'm so paranoid about breaking this thing. She was not cheap, and I'm losing paint, flaking off like crazy. So this is just a Y swivel there, and you know, you can get it to rotate completely around. And then she's got, you know, upper thigh rotation at both thighs, and then single jointed knees. I need to gently bring this dress down. Hopefully the super glue will hold. And it is nice that the dress covers up that articulation there in the hip, the Y joint.
and then she just has kind of older style, like older Marvel Legends from Hasbro, with the hinge and swivel. Hinge and swivel there, but no ankle rocker. So pretty good for a 7-inch scale figure. Not the best, definitely. And the plastic is extremely brittle. It's one thing I hate about Art Asylum and Diamond Select, is the quality of the plastic is very fragile. Always worried about breaking these figures. Here we have some different scaled figures for size comparison. On the far left, the 7-inch, also from Art Asylum, the Enterprise series Captain Archer, and of course Vina there. And then next to Vina on her left is Miss Marvel from Marvel Legends, and in the end we have Han Solo from Star Wars Black Series 6-inch scale. So you can see she's a little bit taller than Han Solo and about the same size as Miss Marvel with her legs spread. You're not really going to be able to get her legs too close together because of the articulation issues. So I think she works really well with Marvel Legends. Fortunately, she's, for a 7-inch scale figure, she's a bit on the short side, but I think she works well for both 6 and 7-inch, as most females are supposed to be shorter than males. Alright, well, hopefully you guys like the video, you share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and I always love hearing back from you guys, so please leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.